At the end of this book, you will find a description of the background on how the DISA system emerged. But since you probably want to dive into its most interesting element of our conversion practice, you can just read on authorized convert to page 228. Tax oriented and issue oriented, relation oriented. Introvert passive with the extrovert active. So reaction maximum equal to organize. Even interesting relationship issue time from person acceptance suitable. Quick reaction maximum equal to control minimum interest for person relationship current time from direct acceptance suitable. Vegetarianism, isolation, impulsive action, minimal interest in routine, rapid reaction maximum protein load. As you can see, there are four main categories of behavior tactics, of which is associated with the color. This book is about how you can recognize them quite soon. As you can start reading about the different color various face will come to mind. Sometimes maybe even be wrong. For 80% of people are a combination of people that come dominate the behavior. Appropriate 5% have only one color, the dominant behavior, the other dominant the three colors. Throughout the book, I focus on the visual color individually because they are the fundamental component of person behavior. It's like a recipe, and we need to understand that all ingredients differ with their recipe. Entirely green behavior, the green combination with the other color is the most common. The least common is entirely red behavior or red behavior in combination with one other color. When you meet possess qualities that you sometimes wish you had, you may even feel jealous of because they easily master things that you struggle with. Maybe you like to be more decisive, like grades, or maybe you wish it were easier for you to interact with strangers. Like possibly you wish that you didn't stress yourself so much that you could just take it easy like you used to. And perhaps you wish that you could keep it struggling better or something that neither of you lose. Hazardly, it works the other way as well. You are going to read things that will help you realize that you do boss around a bit too much, just like it tends to do, or that you talk way too much, something that elders do. It might be that you take things away too easily and not getting into anything that is weakness, or you are always suspicious of seeing risks everywhere, just like blues. Here you can learn to see your own pitfalls and how you can take appropriate measure to get around them, no matter what you learn about yourself and other take notes on the line things and use of material. So in this chapter, so I just finished chapter 3, and the title of chapter 3 is an introduction to the system. So the system that the author is referring to is the DISA system, which is previously mentioned in chapter 1 and chapter 2 as well. The writer of this book, originally the author, has uh, just divided or categorized human behavior pattern in just four colors, color coded symbols, which go with blue, red, yellow, and green. And there are a lot of characteristic of this color, such as blue stand for analytical, which has slow reaction maximum equal to organize. Red obviously stand for or dominant character. Yellow is stand for a inspiring character, and green stand for a stable character. So that's it in this chapter. Red behavior. Red behavior. How to recognize the real of getting in his way. What should we do? We do it in my way now. This is the behavior type that Hippocrates in his theory of human temperament called choleric. Red को सही हो क्या red टैक्स में से मुझे कंटिन्यू होने को तो कसम डिस्कस करते हैं डायरेक्ट कंपनी से आगे नहीं बढ़े red behavior है ना. Nowadays, you might call a red person bold, ambitious, driven, but also potentially hot tempered, as an dominant. You quickly notice a red person because it doesn't make the slightest effort to conceal who he is. A red person is a dynamic and driven individual. He has a goal in life that others may find difficult to even imagine. Since his goals are so highly ambitious, achieving them seems to be impossible. They strive forward, always pushing themselves harder, and they almost never give up. They believe in their own abilities unsurpassed. They carry inside them the firm belief that they can achieve anything if they were just work hard enough. People who have lots of trait in the behavior are task-oriented extroverts and they enjoy challenge. They make quick decisions and are often comfortable taking the lead and taking risks. A common perception is that they are natural leaders. These are people who will willingly take command and go to the fore. They are so driven that they will get enough despite any obstacle in their path. Their disposition is ideal in competitive situations. It's not unusual for CEO or president to have a lot of trait in this behavior. This form of competition is present in everything related to say that they constantly want to challenge and compete is probably not entirely true. But if a chance of winning something arises, why not? The exact nature of competition is unimportant. It's the competitive element that keeps rate running on all cylinders. This form of competition is present in everything related to say that they constantly want to challenge and compete is probably not entirely true. But if a chance of winning sometimes arises, why not? The exact nature of competition is unimportant. It's the competitive element that keeps raid running on all cylinders. PL, one of my former neighbors, liked competing so much that he developed entirely new interests just to compete. I like working in the garden and so I spent quite some time doing so. PL did not like gardening, but when he had heard people commenting on my beautiful garden after enough, he finally had enough. He started one project after another, always with a single but very clear objective to outdo me. He confounded his wife by digging new flower beds, planting a rainbow of unbelievably fabulous plants, and cultivating the lawn to golf course standard. The only thing I needed to do to be him going was to merely search that I would purchase more plants. Then he would go to the local gardening center quickly. Then you could say, "Bad loser." You can also recognize rate by other behavior pattern. Who talks the loudest rates, who goes all out when they explain something rates, who always the first to answer a question rates again. Who during an otherwise pleasant dinner makes categorical comment on just about any topic and rules of the entire country based on something is on television rates. Something is always happening in the lives of great people. They can't still sit still. Idle time is wasted time. Life is short. Better get going immediately. Do you recognize the typos on the go? So step aside. Let's get cracking. Tell me what you really think is for real. Readers have no problem being blunt. When asked a specific question, they often say exactly what they think without any frills. They see no need to wrap things up in a bounce of empty phrase. When a thought pops up in their head, everyone knows it immediately. They have opinion on most things and they quote their thoughts and behave quickly and effectively. A common remark is that readers are very honest because they dare to express their personal truth to people. They don't really understand what the fuss is all about. They are only said things as they are. If you need someone with extra energy, you may want to involve a raid into a team or project group. They fight tirelessly and when others have already given up. If they are determined to succeed at each or task that has become humdrum or meaningless could be totally ignored by a raid. I call this phenomenon a slonger split. If the task is important enough, a raid will go through fire and water to complete it. If he feels it has no purpose, into the trash it goes. Even read people often see themselves as driven, decisive, prompt, persuasive, strong-willed, result-oriented, time-conscious, determined, competitive, independent, resolute, ambitious. Can I win something in that case? I mean, so reads like competing. They appreciate the slight antagonism that is part of being competitive and the glorious moment of winning. They even enjoy winning competition that probably don't even exist as a perhaps in their own mind. It can be passing a slow worker on the street, finding this absolutely best partnership, or dominating the family game of Monopoly, despite the fact that the purpose of the game is to entertain the kids and none of the other adults are actually competing. For a rate, this is all natural because he seems himself as a winner. Let me give you an example. I once worked for a company where the CEO was ready, was energetic and efficient, and consequently incredibly dynamic. No meeting were as short and sweet as those run by the CEO. By his weak spot was the competitive element. As a young man, he had played soccer, and every spring at this particular workplace they had a soccer tournament. It was very popular even before he joined the company. Naturally, he had to take part. No other CEO before him had ever done so, but that wasn't the problem. The problem was that as soon as he got out on the field, he became a different person. On fire with his competitive drive, he flattened anyone who stood in his way. This continued for a few years until someone had the courage to tell him that he played just a little bit too rough. The game wasn't supposed to be that serious. The CEO didn't understand. He grabbed the latest player for the game and put it out that it was called a soccer tournament. Tournament are competitions, and if you compete, you are in to win. Simple. He competed in traffic on the soccer field in business. No area was too insignificant not to become a competition. He even raced to see how quickly he could finish reading a book. Was honestly for relaxation transferring into a competition. 100 pages an hour was a reasonable pace. His wife had even banned him from playing a memory card game with his children, who were 5 and 6 years old. Since they had better memories than he did, they won most of the time, and in this frustration, he intimidated them. Before we conclude that this guy sounds rather unsympathetic, we need to look at his intention. This kind of intensive and competitive behavior often upsets other people because they think it is all about dominating and suppressing others. Nothing could be further from the truth. His intentions were almost never malicious, he just wanted to win. This is one of the greatest challenges for raiders. It's not uncommon that other people feel irritated or intimidated by them because they are such powerful personalities. Later on in this book, I will share some simple ways that you can deal with this individual. Time is money. Quick is synonymous with good for raiders. If you are in meeting and suddenly notice that one of the other participating is devoting his time to something completely different, it may well be a raid who has lost interest. If you look closer, you will realize that his thoughts are inspired on the next with the questions being discussed. For example, because rates are quick thinkers, they move on long before everyone else. Few things rates more than sluggishness. If a meeting or a discussion drags on, he may interrupt and ask if it's really necessary to prolong the issue. We have already discussed this for 20 minutes. Get it together. It's only a few million in investment. How hard can it be? If you think about it, they are often right. When other people may find it difficult to make a decision, rates are prepared to make quick decisions in order to keep things moving. With a raid on the team, nothing will be discussed an infinitum. After all, it's always better to do something rather than nothing, right? The advantage is obvious. We are talking about people who never waste time on anything that doesn't move forward. As soon as a task becomes unclear or is it taking too long, our raid will ensure that the momentum is maintenance for things alone. Chop done in the double time. For 15 years ago, I began working for a small consulting company with about a dozen employees. I was a Polish organization with a great spirit of entrepreneurship and excellent momentum in business dealing. One of the reasons why they were so efficient was because the founder of the company was a raid. Nothing could move too quickly for John. No meeting took longer than was absolutely necessary. In my second or third week in New York, I was sitting in a traffic jam when my cell phone rang. I looked at the display and saw that it was John. I answered the way I have been instructed to when I started at the company with a greeting, my name and the company name. Impatiently interrupted me and spit out his question, "Were you looking for me?" "No," I replied and took a deep breath, ready to say something inside I didn't get the chance. "Okay," he said and hung up. 8 seconds, unpleasant. Well, at the time, we didn't really know each other. However, I was certain that the whole episode had me worried a little, at least on their occasion. Only 3 weeks at a company and the big chief himself calls and sounding irritated. When we gotten to know each other and learned that Vision was red, I asked him why he was so abrupt on the phone. Of course, he didn't even remember the call, but he said he was probably just trying to figure out if I was looking for him. What he learned, I wasn't. When you learned, I wasn't. There was no further need to talk. Wasn't time on polite, flowery, fresh or grown out failures wasn't for him. But at the same time, he was a person with a capacity to work far more than normal. John managed to do more in an average working day than most people. He still has an exceptional ability to make the most of any free time. If he has a gap of 5 minutes in his schedule, he managed to squeeze in an email or phone call and go through some meeting minutes. From the outside, this may seem like an unnecessary pursuit of efficiency, but a raid details inactivity. Things must happen, and to this sense of constant urgency, a great deal will get done. The sky is the limit, or is it? For a raid, a realistic budget is the budget for a coward. If we don't push ourselves to the breaking point, we haven't tried hard enough. Raids love difficult tasks, so their level of ambition is usually boundless. The ability to manage difficult situations and challenge is the defining attribute of raid behavior. When a person with raid set is full, several things happen. First, you want to know how well a specific task under the most favorable condition will be performed. If all 19 parameters were met and we all gave it a extra effort, the result will be phenomenal. This means that anything below the impossible level of excellence is boring, and because there's at least a remote possibility of that result being achieved. Nothing is impossible. The impossible just takes a little longer. More than likely, it was Red who came up with the expression. Naturally, it's also about the type of project. It's not enough just to set an impossible sales budget. If a Red doesn't like sales, he will ignore the subject. Since he prefers to make all the decisions himself, he probably won't be fully into doing something he doesn't feel like doing. Rates are set higher even on themselves, and they are the other two colors would, and they are always prepared to work hard. I will not go too far as to say that no other color works as hard as red do, but I will venture to say that red will give anyone a run for his money. Ambition, which is intrinsic to red, should not be confused with the lust for power. Reds have no problem taking position of power since they are fearless. Expression like it's lonely and wounded at the top don't scare them. But for a red, power is not an end in itself. It does, however, come in handy for those who like to make their own decision and avoid having to wait for others. A red can in fact be quite unassuming. It's true that he has a strong ego, but status and prestige do not have the same importance as swing with other colors. The reason is simple: a red usually doesn't care what others think. He's not here for their sake, he's here for his own. Let me tell you how things really are. A red gives everything he got when he has an opinion about something, or if he wants to the rest of us to agree with him, he puts out all the stops. Once I was in a meeting with a large number of people who didn't know one another that well. It was a gathering of consultants who were meeting to discuss a potential collaboration. It was in the middle of recession and we were all concerned about the lack of direction. While we were waiting for the chairperson to arrive, we chatted a little about everything. At one end of the table at Elizabeth, who had a strong opinion about everything in an equivocal book, while she suddenly stated that the company was still expected to earn about 50 million a week. Despite the recession, about 15 consultants, all highly trained, reflected and intelligent people, noted in her agreement. Just imagine 50 million per week. While Elizabeth expanded on how the situation ought to be resolved in the consulting world, I began thinking about the figures a little bit. Not knowing where this figure came from, I remained silent. It could be true, it could be far-fetched, I honestly didn't know. While waiting for the meeting to begin officially, I started consulting how much 50 million per week would be per year. I didn't have enough paper. After the meeting, I got the answer to my speculation. I was in a taxi on my way to my next meeting when the driver turned on the radio. In the news, it was announced that the company in question was expected to earn between 2 and 2.5 million per week. I realized that Elizabeth has gotten the information from the news. I also understood that 2.5 million per week was far more realistic than the 50 million that she had referred to. But wait a minute, a little reconciliation with reality is needed here. Why didn't anyone react? No one in the room lifted a finger or called her information to question why. Because she sounded so convincing. Her facial expression was definite, her countenance was determined, and her voice did not quiver in the least when she presented her figures. That's the way rates function. When they believe something, they let people know that this is the one truth that exists. Now, maybe there are other sticklers for details who might claim that it's deceptive. Since we now know that the company won 2.5 million a week, not roughly 15 million. But I am convinced that Elizabeth really believed what she said. She had things turned around, no doubt about that, and she was certainly not interested in details. But my point is that by sounding utterly confident when she declared that the company was earning 6 months revenue per week, we all fell for it. Or in the words of a good friend of mine, there are two ways to do this, my way and the wrong way. Only dead fish go with the flow. Rates are both groundbreaking and strong-willed, but why not also a result-oriented and decisive when we are at it? For it is not sufficient to do things like everyone is just, and just because stuff doesn't mean we should avoid doing it. Rates aren't afraid to make decisions when everyone else is. Instead, thinking and waiting the risks, a rate makes a controversial decision. A rate determination is usually unyielding. Once it is decided, then it's full steam ahead. Their fearlessness dares them to tackle things that make others hesitate. This is usually evident when things get rough, and they are undaunted by tough choice or tricky decision. It is no coincidence that many entrepreneurs are red. Setting up new businesses, especially if they are based on completely new business concept, is in our current economy not for the faint of heart. It's not a bad thing to have a force of nature in the driver's seat. It takes a strong mind to move things forward, someone who understands that risks that are part of everyday life and that everything goes down to hard work from morning to night. For many years, we don't understand this from the beginning and are in no way intimidated by it. You need someone to pursue a problem in your apartment complex. Maybe you gotten on the wrong side of your landlord. You say that there is absolutely nothing wrong with your heat. Or maybe the contractor who repaired the roof and installed the new elevator was negligent and won't take responsibility for it. Anytime you try to get things straightened out, you've been brought to stand still by a barricade of unanswered call and into the addresses. You're about to give up when you suddenly remember the guy on the second floor living above you, even he kind of weird. Wasn't he the one who dared to go against the super at the last meeting and get the trash policies? And yes, that's the guy. Throw the guy from the second floor into the process, and then you will see things begin to happen. You might have to motivate him a little, explain that he has a lot to gain from it himself, but he will make things happen. He will subdue the landlord and get the contract in line, and he won't lose any sleep just because someone got angry with him in the process. Generally speaking, our red students are very powerful. They are extremely clear in the communication, and you don't have to look far to identify red behavior. Of course, over these years, many red learn to restrain themselves somewhat, but it doesn't usually last very long. They will be back to full throttle and all that entails. It wasn't better before, onward and upward. Or he doesn't try to stick to his original point of view when he realized that a better solution exists. He is a quick thinker and has no problem shifting his ground at short notice. One of the advantages of this is that he doesn't reject the other people's idea if he has more of it if he has known himself. It's worth looking into anything that can propel development forward. Sometimes reason can come to a little too big too quickly, but the will constantly change, create a strong dynamism and flexibility. If anything has been static for a long time, maybe a few weeks, he will turn things up to a notch. Some people may find this stressful, but when you ask Red why he says something that was actually working, the answer could be, well, because I could. Naturally, there are also downside. Reds get bored with the stats queue quickly, and so they change it. The people around them have no idea what will happen next. When greens and blues have gotten used to the new organization, they think they have already grasped how things are supposed to work. Whether red will have already outlined the next step. Conclusion on red behavior. So, what do you think? Do you know any reds? Do you have any around you? If you want to get to know some famous red people, consider Steve Jobs, FDR, Venus Williams, or Margaret Thatcher. There are also Barack Obama and Mother Teresa. Oh yes, it's true. If you consider Mother Teresa, discussion she made and whom she had dealt with the world foremost leader to achieve what she did, and then you realize that she was extremely determined and forceful, a typical red profile. ओहो कहाँ बंद गरेको मैले so this is the chapter 4 of this book, Surrounded by Idiots, and it is and the title of this chapter is Red Behavior, and author has just developed some of the point to recognize the behavior patterns of the person associated with the red, associated with the color red, and he just said, as he has mentioned in this chapter, that person with character red characteristics are just dominant in nature on their own. They have this they have this behavior of winning every trade, winning every decision, and having to just put their best effort in everything they do. The very best world leaders such as Mother Teresa, Barack Obama, and all professional entrepreneurs are all considered to be red because they are just forward going and they are not really afraid of anything. I would just say they are probably not afraid of adversity in the face of their goals, and that's it. टाढा साउन्ड चाहिँ राम्रै गरेको थियो